and as we bring our attention back into this space, the lovely Janita Johnson reminds us that we are aligned with spirit.
With spirit, with spirits. I am aligned with spirit, with spirit. With spirit, with spirit, I am aligned, yes, with spirit, with spirit. We're all made of love. Divine oneness of God. He is the light, yes, within the soul, transforming our hearts with everything that is God. He's aligning our souls, aligning our spirits. Our souls are aligned with God. Thank you. So today is Father's Day, and I don't have a Father's Day song, but I'd like to take this opportunity to say we are thankful for all the fathers in the world that are blessing their wives, their children, their loved ones with their spirit. So we just want to say that we're grateful for you, as I'm sure they are as well. That God has done. Yes, I'm grateful for the victories we've won. I could go on and on and on about His words, because I'm grateful, so grateful, just to praise the one flowing from our hearts. All the gratitude it fills our hearts. It's gracefulness. Woo, grateful? Yes, I'm grateful for the victories we won. I could go on and on and on and on and on about his words, because I'm grateful, grateful, so grateful just to praise the one flowing from my heart. All the gratitude it fills my heart. It's gracefulness. Yeah. I am grateful, 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 gratefulness is flowing from our hearts. Graceful, 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 graceful. Are you grateful? Grateful, 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 grateful. Gratefulness is flowing from my heart. Grateful, 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 grateful. Gratefulness is flowing from our hearts. Yeah. Thank you.
All right now. Woo, I am grateful. Come here, baby. Come here.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm grateful for you. That, my friends, is gratitude unleashed. All right now. I am the grateful Reverend Judy-Ann Young. Miss Bertha's baby girl. Happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to the fathers. Happy Father's Day to the mothers who have stood in the gap for the absent father. Happy Father's Day to the fathers that have made their transition and moved on to a higher realm. Happy Father's Day. It is always good to have an occasion to celebrate, and this is truly one of those times. Today's message comes from a song by Michael Jackson called Man in the Mirror. It was one of his later songs. And in this particular song, he says, I'm going to make a change for once in my life. It's going to feel real good. Going to make a difference. Going to make it right. As I turn up the collar on my favorite winter coat, this wind is blowing my mind. I see the kids in the street with not enough to eat. Who am I to be blind, pretending not to see their needs? The man in the mirror. Now, let me say this. From the beginning of time, we've had these archetypes of what men are. Archetypes are models. And we get them from history, we get them from culture, we get them from television. And some of the models and archetypes we have of men is they're warriors, they're strong, they're brave, they're competitors, they are providers, they are protectors. And underneath all of that, they are human. So I started thinking about what these archetypes really mean to me. And I was very fortunate to grow up with a very wonderful father, wonderful brothers, and a wonderful uncles. So I'm kind of jaded. I love men. I love the role that they have played in my life. My earliest memory was being a very small girl. When I say very small, 2 or 3 years old. And my Uncle Johnny used to come by 2 or 3 times a week, and he'd have this bag with 2 glazed donuts in it. And I was in my 30s, and I asked him about the donuts. And he said, he called me Lucy May. Don't ask me why. That's way far away from Judy-Ann. But he said, Lucy May, you remember that? And I said, Uncle Johnny, I can remember the 2 glazed donuts. I said, but my real question is, what was the writing on the side of that white wood panel truck that you drove? Now, my uncle was a sky cap at the San Francisco airport, and he laughed and he said, well, you know, part-time I delivered dry cleaning, and right next to the dry cleaners was a bakery. And when your dad went off to Alaska, he asked me to come by and check on you to make sure my mother had some issues, make sure that you were doing okay. He said, and I just got into the habit of going into the bakery and getting 2 glazed donuts in a bag. And one day, the lady at the bakery said, oh, you really love these glazed donuts. And he told her, no, they're for my niece. My brother's out of the country. Alaska, at the time, was not a state. And so I take these glazed donuts to her to keep her daddy's memory fresh in her mind. So here it was years later, 30 years later, I'm finally getting around to what was on the side of that truck. I say that to say this. Having had a relationship with my father that was very intimate and very loving, and to have it with my Uncle Johnny, who looked just like my father, only taller and thinner, and to have it with my brothers, I came away with a comfort level with men that I thought I understood. Until I went to work in a male-dominated career field. I integrated the oil industry in Alaska for BP Amoco, and in this integration, I became the proverbial fly on the wall, and I began to see men very differently. Now, in these archetypes of what we think a man is and should do, a lot of it has to do with some of the things we look at and make judgments about. If he's tall and strapping, we say he's a big hunk of a man. If he's small, we say, oh, they're kicking sand in his face at the beach. And these are just stories that we make up. And the little boys grow up and have to live under the umbrella of stories that, one, they had no say in how these stories were playing out in the universe. So men children historically grew up with some very warped sense of their role. And part of that is the role of men, my father's generation, it has shifted dramatically for the newer under 40 generation, because men are much more sensitive, and they're encouraged to be more sensitive because a lot of those men were raised by men that were not allowed to show emotion. We told our boy children, big boys don't what? Cry. So they learn to deal from here up in their intellect. And so when they looked in the mirror and they had a broken heart, they were forced by societal standards to ignore the reflection looking back at them. They were trying to fit what we assumed was who they should be. So in order to survive and thrive, men have shifted. And now we have this metrosexual male that gets manicures and pedicures and gets waxed, and he has all these things now that he could not have before. And we're allowing it to be okay. But here's an interesting thing. In this survival mode, we have this new vehicle that has new computerized parts, but yet there's parts of our society that are trying to treat them like those old standard shift vehicles that we used to drive. Those men are not around anymore, but there is a part of them that is very much alive and very active. And it is driven by a physiological piece of them, which is the hormones. See, men have this thing called testosterone, and it is very high, and it is an aggressive hormone that encourages them to be competitive. It encourages them to assert themselves. And so they do that. But yet, there is that other piece that's starting to come up. And it's coming up even more when we find men that have been raised by women. And they don't have the male around to show you them some of that man stuff. So now we have all these little testosterone guys walking around trying to learn how to be a man, and many of them don't have a model to look to. I noticed the difference in my family with my grandchildren. Out of 10 of them, I have one grandson that does not have a father around. But this is the one that's, there are no mistakes, named after my husband. So my husband takes a lot of time with this grandson, teaching him the ways of manhood. And it includes being sensitive. Because, see, the new shift in manhood is the man in the mirror can be and is nurturing. Men may be socialized different, but they still have the same need to be together in the pack. See, we as women get together just because. Oh, let's get together. Men get together for a purpose. Let's watch the game. Let's go hunting. Let's go fishing. Let's go ride motorcycles. Men need a justification for why they need to be with other men. Women, we don't need all that. We just get together because, girl, I got a new dress. Come on over. Men don't do that. It's just a different animal. That testosterone as an aggressive hormone naturally makes them competitive. You look at little boy children, they want to see who runs the fastest, who's the strongest. Girls want to sit down and play and be cute. That's just because we are wired differently. See, power is to a man what beauty is to a woman. I'm going to say that again. Power is to a man what beauty is to a woman. Now, I will admit, we have many jars of beauty at our house. Men call it lotions and potions. We go and get our face out of the jar in the bathroom. We have night cream, we have day cream, we got something make your lashes long. Men, they have some soap and water. But they have dumbbells and barbells and all of this stuff to pump them up, because that's how men represent themselves. Well, in all of that, what really happens when a man looks in the mirror? Emotionally. When I say that we are wired very different, I'm going to go somewhere where we seldom want to talk about from the pulpit. Even sexually, we're wired different. I'll tell you why. As a rule, men give romance to get sex. Women give sex to get romance. For most women, sex is a very emotional experience. For men, it is a very physical experience. Now, as we start to mature, men become more in line with their femininity and their emotions, then they become more emotional about their partner. But the one thing that I have found in my years of working with men, and I'm going to let y'all in on a secret. Don't tell the fellas in here. Let's make like we don't see them. The one challenge and the one thing that men never tell us that they need from us more than sex, more than praise, more than acknowledgement, is they need to feel safe. That's the bottom line. A man needs to feel safe. And this is where we as women drop the ball, because we don't know. Because when they look in the mirror and they are practicing to keep a stiff upper lip and take care of the family and provide, they tuck down those emotions. And when they start to love you, whether you're the mother, the sister, or the husband, got some husbands in here, and they reveal to you those emotions that they really don't always know how to express, they need unequivocally to know that what they have said to you, that they are safe. Now, let me tell you a little bit more about this safety thing. When I first, and I'll use my husband as an example, when I first started dating him, he shared some things with me, and I realized what made it so comfortable for him to learn to love me was he knew he was safe with me. Now, there is nothing more sacred to a man than to know that the woman he is sleeping beside, or the woman in the next room he calls his mother, that he is safe with her. In the sense that when he doesn't have on his bravado and all of his man stuff, that when he feels vulnerable, you're not going to come along with your chisel and chink away at his already tarnishing armor. He needs to know that you're going to let him be safe. Now, this is what I say about this masculinity. Just like we women want to be loved and admired and appreciated for our beauty, men want to be appreciated also. But it comes different from them. We have the luxury in our culture that if we don't feel good, we call up our girlfriends and we just cry. Oh, I don't know what's wrong. I just don't feel good. Oh, it's going to be all right. And don't let a man do something to us. We really get a lot of support. But where does a man go when stuff isn't right for him? He can't go to his friends, because the fellas will be like, hey, dude, just man up. You know, she'll get over it. So when a man is vulnerable enough to tell you how he feels, you need to realize that is very sacred territory, and honor that relationship. And a lot of times we as women want the men in our lives to communicate with us the way we understand it. Well, if he loved me, he would tell me. Well, let me see. Is he providing for you? Yes. Is he taking care of all your creature comforts? Yes. Doesn't that kind of look like love? Well, he needs to be who he is. And we need to allow the men and our boy children to be who they are. Now, the new emerging man, the one that's here to survive and thrive in the new millennium, he is being allowed to be more sensitive. But he's walking a fine balance, because everywhere he looks, they got guys with their muscles swole up, and you've got a male child that's trying to figure out how to look like that and yet have his emotions. It's a tough role. Women, we don't have any idea what it feels like to appear masculine and have that very soft, tender place open, and then you share it with your mother, and she may attack you or hold it over your head. And that's why a lot of young men walk around angry, because they're carrying secrets. And it shows up, and because they don't know how to express it, they end up in prison systems. I will share something with you that I have been privy to. There is an organization that does what they call restorative justice. And they take men that have done violent crimes, and they take people that have been victimized by violent crimes, and they bring them together. What they find is, through this counseling and over a 1.5-year process of getting under what is making them so violent, 90% of these violent males have been assaulted and violated. And because they did not have a place to express that, they attacked other people. Now, there's one gentleman that is my hero. I love this man. I've never met him. It's my goal. He's on my get-to-know board. He's a friend in my head. You know, I just have him up here. I read an article, and he said he had been a brilliant musician all his life. He had been highly successful, and his wife kept saying, "You're so angry." So he went into therapy to save his marriage. And what came up was he had been molested as a little boy, and he had carried the seed of that anger. And now he can speak about it and teach about it, and is someone that we've all heard of, and his name is Carlos Santana. And it has showed up in his music when he talks about the monster under the bed. That's where we as women get to step in for the men that may not be there. If you have a male child, know a male child, encourage that male child to have a mentor, because the only way male energy learns how to be expressed in a healthy manner is it has to learn from somebody that has that energy. And the truth is, you are never all male and you're never all female. You're on a sliding continuum, meaning that the heterosexual male spends most of his time over here hanging out with the guys, oogling the ladies, and being a family man. The very, very feminine woman is way over here being very girly and can't go out without her lipstick. But in the middle is everybody else. And we make up stories about people because of their sexuality. And I can tell you, on this continuum, we all are sliding back and forth. And I'll tell you how I know this. In the oil industry, late at night, there would be times when I would be that proverbial fly on the wall, and I would hear men having their dialogue about their relationship. And one of my coworkers' wife got ovarian cancer, and he didn't know where to go with it, and the guys were doing guy talk to console him. And you know what their solution was? To get on the computers and let's do some research. See, men want to solve the problem. Women want to be with the emotion of the situation. And I noticed that men, in their solution orientation, because that's what they've been conditioned to do, they don't know how to express the fear that goes with that. So it shows up in other ways. Even when a male has prostate cancer, a friend of mine was diagnosed a week ago, and how he's expressing his masculinity because it's taking him somewhere different in his manhood. How does he say, I'm afraid, and not have his wife and his children seeing him less than? So we need to be very sensitive that when a male has a situation and he expresses it in man language, that we accept it, and we don't need to try to figure it out or try to make them present it in a language that we recognize. Just recognize that men have their pride with their masculinity like we have ours with our femininity, but they show up differently. Ernest Holmes talks about the wholeness of the individual, the yin yang, and this is the beauty of all of the masculinity and the femininity. You cannot have one without the other. You cannot be totally feminine without some masculine energy. You cannot be totally masculine without some feminine energy. If you want to know what masculine energy looks like, threaten a woman's children. Any species that has, any female species that has a child, if you want to know what she's made out of, threaten her child. You're going to see aggression on steroids. You will see that. And men, you notice culturally, when they look in the mirror now, they're coming to grips with allowing that feminine side of them to not threaten their masculine side. We now have new language now. Men say, yes, we are pregnant. They didn't say that 25 years ago. That's a whole new vocabulary. First time I heard a man say that, yes, we are pregnant. They're taking relationship to a whole new level. Men are wanting to be at home with their newborn children. They're telling, I want that family leave so I can be at home with my baby. Men are now stepping into a new paradigm. And it is in this new paradigm that we're going to create a new world order, because those old guys that are used to beating their chests and creating wars that they send young men off to fight, that is dying off. And we are creating a new world order of how to have relationship with each other. And it will be one of more balance. That's why the Dalai Lama said, it will be women of the West that will bring about world peace. And I will say this, there are some pieces of a man that are going to always be just that, the uniqueness of the masculine. And that is where I invite every woman, whether you agree or not, you have to raise your man and you have to praise your man. You know, I've been with my husband almost 20 years, but I still take time to say thank you for the things that he does, even if he doesn't always get it perfect. Because what it does is it encourages him to be a better man for me. We cannot strip that from our male children. I look at how my husband teaches his grandson to open the door, to be a gentleman, not just a gentleman with women, but to be a gentleman with other gentlemen. And we know from history what happens if we don't harness that energy. They did, I saw a documentary on elephants, and all the male elephants have the long tusks, and the poachers had killed them off to get the ivory. Well, the next generation of male elephants who didn't have men around, male elephants around, adult male elephants around to teach them how to be, were going through the villages, tearing up everything in sight. And they had to kill off a whole generation of baby male elephants because they were so destructive. There was no one there to teach them how to be a man. So I say that to any woman that has male children, have a man around to teach the boy child how to be a man. And if you are a man, take an interest in a young boy in your neighborhood. And women, be sensitive to the man in the mirror. Because underneath all of that is someone that looks just like us. Someone that is here doing the best they know how. And when a man comes to you with his little heart in his hand, don't accept it, only to step on it later or use it against him. Because what they have found with male children that is so different from female children, we as females, you can hurt our feelings and hurt our heart, we'll cry and we'll get over it. But the wound for men lasts much longer, and the cut is much deeper because they have this thing called the male armor. So I invite you to be in relationship with the men, and sometimes hug a man, just because men don't always know how to say, I need a hug. It is a very tender place for men to even admit that they need this. And if they don't get it, what do? They act out. They become aggressive because they don't know how to express, I need a hug. Are there any fathers in here? Yes, we do have one father. Thank you for being a father. And we got one potential over here. He's working on it. Thank you for being a father. And whatever you do with your children, be they male or female, I invite you to love them, because your girls will learn how to express love by the way you teach them to love. And your boy children will express their masculinity based on the model that you show them also. So, that being said, I know that all of these males here have played a role, oh, she all tender with him now, have played a role with other boy children. So I invite the males to come up here, and we as women, come on, yeah. Joe, I want all of these men to come up and turn around and face the audience. This is the pack right there. Now, ladies, I invite you all to stand, and let's give these men, our men, some praise and some raise. And if you are so comfortable, please come up and give these gentlemen a hug, because I'm serious, because sometimes they don't know how to say, I'd like a hug, I need a hug. So please, this is in that safe place. We acknowledge you. I'm going to say this, we acknowledge you. We thank you for being the men in our lives. Without you, we wouldn't need to wear makeup or high-heel shoes. We wouldn't have these beautiful babies. Thank you, men, for being a part of our lives. This is what I say to the men that stand here. This is what I say to the men that stand here. I say this on behalf of the women in this space. Doesn't that feel good, just to be loved? We should do this every week. Oh. This is what I say to the men that stand before us. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being an example of the masculine energy that makes and appreciates the feminine energy in us. We love you. Today, we honor you. You may be seated, and I invite you each, all of you males, that when you see a little boy that has lost his way, sometimes it's the simple things that you can show him that will put him on another path to manhood. Because there are many young boys that do not have a man in their life, and they are waiting on you. And with that, JJ is coming up. And we are going to close out our service. And I'm going to say this also. There are women in this room that have unresolved issues with their fathers, with ex-husbands, lovers, brothers, whoever. Today's prayer is going to be about forgiving them for not living up to our expectation. For the man that fathered children with us and left, forgive him. He really did the best he knew how. For the father that got your mother pregnant and left, he really did do the best he knew how. Even if he was a drug addict or a drunk, before he was a father, he was just another human. And with parenthood, it doesn't come with any instructions. They did the best they knew how. So I invite us to pray and set them free so that we too can be free from the pain and the shame of ever thinking we were not worthy of their love. Because that's what we do when we're small children. And that's what we do when we're young women and a man leaves us. We think we're unworthy of their love. If they cared about me, they would have stayed. Sometimes they cared about you the reason they left. So, JJ.
Let me walk to the banks, to the river of love, where the currents run deep, baptized in the one, where there's no separation, the light is always seen, honoring all the differences, truth sets us free. Mother, Father, God, there's a healing going on. Mother, Father, God, there's a healing going on. Mother, Father, God, there's a healing going on. I say, oh, you rock my soul. I say, oh, you rock my soul.
As we step into the knowingness of the one living divine God, that divine intelligence that gave us the light and the shadow, the yin and the yang, the male and the female, the masculine and the feminine, that which made us whole in its image. Oh, I am so truly grateful to know that that omnipotent, omniscient, gracious goodness of God that permeates all of life, from the galaxy to the deepest part of the ocean. That it is all God, and it is all good, and it is all whole, perfect, and complete. And so what I know is I am one with that. I know that the male testosterone flows through me, the female estrogen flows through me, that all that God is, that goodness, that greatness, that mercy, that love of God, oh, that slipstream that shows up as Judy-Ann, it shows up as each one of us as a unique expression of God itself. And I know if it's true for me, it has to be true for every other human. So it's from this place that I can speak my word, declare it, decree it, and know it to be the absolute truth. That on this day, I recognize the fathers, I recognize the brothers and the sons, that you are safe with me. In my heart, you are safe. That we stand here letting go of any resentment and any anger and any remorse that we ever loved you. For we know you've done the very best that you knew how. So I set the fathers, the sons, the brothers, the uncles, the offenders, and the lovers, I set you free so that each one of us can be free to go about our walk. For what I know is each of us is doing the very best that we know how. For the fathers, I say thank you. For the sons, I say thank you. For the women that love them, I say thank you. For what I know is each of us is a composite of the male and the female, and without one, you cannot have the other. For we are meant to go together like a hand and glove. And I know that together, we're always stronger than we are apart. So I call all of this good and very good. I roll it together and I call it humanity. I call it the mother and father, the sister and brother, the aunt and the uncle, the boy and the girl, the male and the female. I call it all God. I am so grateful to know such honorable men have walked through my life, and every male that has been in our lives has came to teach us a lesson. We bless you. We send you on your way. We wish you the very best. We forgive ourselves for any misunderstanding that we were not good enough. And we forgive you for not living up to some imagined expectation created out of fairy tales and old paradigms. For what we know is today's man looks in the mirror and he reflects back his wholeness, his perfection, and his completeness. We honor you, we love you. And for this and so much more, I release this into the alchemy of love and law. I let it go. I know it is so, and so it is.
Aren't we lovely? Aren't we beautiful? Angels from heaven, stars in the universe. And so it's true that love will be a reflection of you and me. Aren't we lovely, made from love? Okay, y'all know this point of the session, right? Where we all stand and sing along. If you believe and you know how lovely you are. Yes, yes, yes. All right, here we go. Thank you so very much.